Well, good afternoon, Cassandra. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon to you, Jocelyn. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
I am so thrilled that you've made the decision to come on to Confidence Conversations. I know we're going to have a blast during our time here together.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I'm going to start this like I do every other conversation, and I just want to hear, what does confidence mean to you?
For me, I view it as a quiet self-assurance, meaning
Mm,
that I trust myself, even though I may feel fear, I may feel trepidation or apprehension in whatever decisions I'm making, whatever steps I'm taking to further myself in life, but that at the end of it, I am assured that I can rise above it, even if it were to fail, or even if it weren't to succeed to the degree that I would hope for, but that I am still, I'm in love with myself
yeah.
enough to feel good about the effort that I've done towards whatever that goal is. So it really is that quiet self-assurance. That's how I would describe it.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard someone describe it as quiet self-assurance, but it is a really nice and succinct way to capture the essence of confidence. And I think a lot of the times we kind of see confidence as being this noisy thing, right? People have these outward displays of, I'm walking in the room and I'm a boss, and it's, the look, right? And oftentimes it's not that. It is something that is inside of you that you feel, and you could be the quietest person in the room, right? Say nothing and have that sense of self-assurance, like you've said, and know who you are, where you come from, and your goals. So I really love your definition.
I think to your point, there's value when you are able to demonstrate physically, as women,
Mm-hmm.
we've often been repressed, not only physically, but emotionally in terms of, showing the world our worth or showing the world what we're capable of. So now
Yeah.
we're really trying to shout it from the rooftops, and deservedly so, right? Also in conjunction with that, I think if you were to strip that away, the clothing, the wording, the demeanor, take that all away. If you were able to, how would you be able to communicate confidence
Mm-hmm.
about all the peripherals? And that's what I'm trying to help people to really build up, is that if no one's watching, you're still well within yourself. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter at the end of the day who is really watching you. It's what you feel about yourself. It's that relationship with yourself.
Yeah, and I think that that's the most important relationship that we have, right? Is the relationship with ourselves. We get to talk to friends, families, husbands, boyfriends, what have you, kids. But at the end of the day, it's having self assurance in a relationship with ourselves and being able to appreciate who we are, even if we're not even happy with where we are, think that there's
Right.
room for improvement, knowing that I am who I am, I'm here for a reason, and everything's going to be all right. And knowing that within yourself and not needing that external validation is so key.
Absolutely. It's easier said than done. Um,
Yeah.
it's a skill that we learn to master, and it's something you work on each day. And some days you'll feel great, and other days you're just like, I'm not hitting that out of the park. And it's okay to internalize that, but at some point you have to let it go because you won't be able to move forward, right?
Right.
So it's that constant discussion with cerebral anyway for me,
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis, moment-to-moment basis, even when people are, like you say, they're validating you, and it is important to get that support, to feel like your
Yeah.
work or your goals are being well received. We all want that. Let's be realistic here.
That's one of the love languages, right? Words of
Yes.
affirmation.
Exactly, right? So let's not dismiss its importance at all. It's just in tandem. It's that if you don't receive that, it doesn't mean that what you're doing doesn't have value. It doesn't mean that you
Mhm.
don't have value. And I think that often gets lost in the messaging of the movement of our feminism,
Yeah.
So I like to counterbalance that, as many interviews as I do, I'm really very introverted in nature. I'm very studious, very quiet, very contemplative, very, I plan my moves very, very succinctly.
Hmm.
So that helps me to reinforce, because I'm constantly, validating against my personal standard, my values,
Right.
right? So if you don't have that already established, it's hard to really demonstrate confidence to others.
Yeah, I think that's so key. What you just hit on is having that standard for ourselves. And if you're going to compare yourself to anything or anyone, letting it be yourself. How can I improve today? Taking a look back on the past day, month, year, 10 years,
Right.
and saying, how can I improve? And putting yourself as that baseline to make sure you have a healthy understanding, right, of who you are, why you react the way that you do, why, how you've gotten to be where you are, but
Yeah.
also to be able to assess, how am I improving? What do I want? Right? Because if we don't know our own standards and we don't know what we want and have that evaluation that you just mentioned, anyone can just come on in and tell us the standard or what things are supposed to be, and we'll readily accept that. And I know that that's probably something that you know a lot about, being in the music industry.
It's, I am a musician. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been at this since childhood.
Yeah.
And one thing my mom always told me was that I was very strong-willed. I always knew who I was within whatever spaces I entered in.
Hmm.
Having said that, I still struggled with confidence for a really, really long time. And I'll explain that after. But to come back to that point is that in the music industry, or any industry really, but especially industries where it's dominated by men, you have to hold your own.
Yeah.
You have to be able to fight for your position and then keep your position before you can even hope to elevate that position. So it's many levels to this, where it can really knock you back and set you back emotionally, and it can really erode that confidence
Hmm.
that you had amassed, right? So it's constantly being challenged, and you have to fortify yourself. I fortified myself in different ways, like I'm very spiritual. I don't do yoga, but I pray a lot. That's my measure of
Hmm.
filling up my cup every day, right? So you have to
Yeah.
you have to find ways that resonate with you to nourish yourself, especially in the music industry, where it's like you're in favor today, you're not in favor tomorrow. Is your music being consumed by a certain market? You're constantly looking at metrics. You're constantly looking at, for women, myself, how am I aging? Will I be accepted because in my case I decided not to dye my hair anymore? How am I going to be
Yeah.
perceived? And it's all these little things that you're constantly worrying about, and you just have to, at a point, just say, this is me. This is who I
Yeah.
am. I'm proud to be who I am. And I know that I'm not for everyone, and
Right.
everyone is not for me. And I can't just go into this business expecting that everyone's going to love my music. That's not what I want. I
Yeah.
want to be respected for my music first and foremost, even if you don't necessarily like it, that you can appreciate the hours and the effort and the talent and the devotion that went into creating this art. You know,
Hmm.
so that's how I approach this industry, is first and foremost really just staying true to me as an individual, the product that I produce, and the rest is really out of my control.
Yeah.
You
It's true, right? You do what you can with what you can, but the rest of it, you really do have to let go and do what's comfortable and what feels right. And I love that you're talking about being true to yourself and learning how to be unapologetic in that, because that's something that as women we struggle with so much. And especially in the age of social media, right? We're looking at this person looks like that person is over here, they're doing her thing, and we're constantly, like, not even consciously, like subconsciously a lot of the
Yes.
times, comparing ourselves, looking at our skills and talents versus someone else's, or our homes or cars, or like it is so much, and
It's
being
it's
able.
it's overwhelming. We're
Yeah.
constantly on display, right? And and that's actually, I'm really purposeful about social media. You don't find me posting every day.
Hmm.
I do post is something that I hope that it enriches you, as opposed to you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to look at me all the time. That's not my goal. My goal is to hopefully that I can, through my experiences, through my music, through my persona as a being, that I can enrich you, that I'm serving
Yeah.
you. Whereas the majority of social media, how people approach it is the complete opposite, right? It's look at me, look how I'm living, look how I'm doing. I'm just like living my best life. And a lot of people are really hurting if they were being honest. We're in
Yeah.
a period of time in our life that we're all under duress. We're all under stress. No one can say that they haven't felt pressure during this time, even if things
Yeah.
were good, even if they haven't lost a job. For example, music industry decimated, right, through COVID. No one's touring.
Yeah.
So yes, maybe the higher tier artists are living well, but let's talk about the engineers. Let's talk about the stylists. Let's talk about all the teams that support an artist when they go on the road, right? So you don't see them, right? You only just see the lead acts.
Right. But
I'm
it's so much more than that. There's so many people, and you don't even think about all of the lives that are affected, not just by COVID, but in general when
Mhm.
things happen. So I do think it's really important to you mentioned it again, like that validation piece and being able to do that for yourself and fill your own cup up. Because I think a lot of the times, right, we turn to social media to validate ourselves, even when we're feeling down. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, if things aren't looking good, I'll post a photo and let people know how fabulous life is. And I think that that has distorted reality at
Mhm.
a very mass level because we're looking at an age of people are not only comparing, but they're taking this in like sponges. And so what
Yeah.
we have is everyone's comparing against this false narrative, this false perception of life and like how we're living, and everyone's competing with the Joneses when the Joneses aren't even living that way. And if they are, it's like you don't see the people who are truly happy posting for validation. And while
No.
I can't say what that looks like, because you can post something that you feel good about and like, hey, I just got this or did this, and I'm
Right.
not bashing anyone for
No,
doing that
absolutely
at
not.
all. But there's a difference between doing that and sharing your accomplishments and things versus getting the validation that we kind of need as humans to know that we're on the right track, being able to get that from social media versus
Right.
being able to take a step back, evaluate our lives, and stand in our own truth.
Yeah, it's social media, it's like a blessing and a curse. Sometimes I
Right.
err more on the curse than the blessing, just because, especially if you're vulnerable emotionally,
Hmm.
if you have not, like I said, fortified yourself, you are going to go down that rabbit hole of exactly what you alluded to, where you're just constantly feeling judged through others' lives. Like you're putting up yourself against the metrics of what other people say that should be your life, or you should be doing, or how you should be feeling or looking, and you're just like, I don't measure up, I don't measure up, I don't measure up, I don't measure up, and it's really harmful if you don't have the ability to separate, perception versus reality, and
Right.
understand that, a lot of these accounts are money making accounts, right? A lot of them are, the influencer world, and
Right.
really understanding that they're doing that, they're getting paid to do this,
Hmm.
a
They're
lot.
receiving a lot of the goods for free. And I think it's important for people to understand that you don't have to compare yourself. You are enough just as you are. And if you're
Mhm.
pursuing your dreams, you're pursuing your purpose, and you're doing it in a way that is honest and true, that you're on the right path. There is
Exactly.
no standard or baseline other than yourself. And so to just keep that in mind on a daily basis. And so we're
Right.
talking about baselines, we're talking about foundations. I want to know where you started off. You said you started singing as a child, so I want to know like the journey for you. How did
Okay.
that unfold?
So it all began when I was listening to Indian records. My late mom was Hindu by birth, and so I grew up in Trinidad at first. I was born in San Juan, Trinidad, and so culturally, musically, you know, I'm surrounded with all different types of music, and
Yeah.
my mother just had picked up on the fact that I could harmonize pretty much flawlessly with especially Hindu records, which was very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So then when we immigrated to Montreal, I was 6 at the time, started elementary school there, and my music teacher contacted my mom and said, your child is gifted. You know, you should try to enroll her in music classes. Now, keep in mind, my mom was a single parent, you know,
Mhm.
at that time as a chambermaid. So she wasn't making a lot of money. So she would put me in like half an hour classes, you know, to be able to afford it. So I started training as a clarinetist originally, not as a singer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so classical clarinetist. But then I was attending church. So I'd be in the plays as a kid and, you know, kids choir, and I was playing bells, and, you know, I was in all the things. So
Yeah.
my life was music. Other than going to school, being a kid, I was a music kid, you know. So then, you know, graduated high school with honors in music. I'd started off CJEP in Montreal as a music student, you know. But in the meantime, when I was around like 15, 16, I had joined like an outside church choir. And this choir had happened to get a contract with the Cirque du Soleil, which is one of the largest entertainment acts in the world. And so some of us were hand chosen to provide, you know, vocals on their first 3 albums of the Cirque.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, and so that's how I kind of crossed out of the church and got into mainstream like music and discovered this whole entire world that existed, you know,
Yeah.
outside. And from there, I just started, you know, backing up artists that were coming through the major festivals in Montreal. And then I started going on tour with some of them. And then I eventually, in 2007, decided I have some things I want to say. I was going through some things, and I was always a writer, but I just started writing in a more cohesive way that fit a song structure, right? And eventually I gathered up the courage to record an album. My first album, it's called Road to Rebellion, and that was released in 2011. Yeah, a decade ago. So yeah, so that music has always been a part of my life. It's been a source of healing for me,
Hmm.
my pain through music. I also experienced some of my greatest joys as well through music. And then, long story short, I got married, divorced, and then remarried married my now husband, and he is a sound engineer. So we had that common.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, so we met at a festival where I was performing, and the main act he was engineering for. So that's how we met 12 years ago. So music is central to my existence.
Yeah.
Part of my love life in my relationship. It's part of my how I communicate through words. It really encompasses a lot of who I am. So I take it very seriously, not in the sense to say, okay, I want a Grammy, or I want to, you know, I don't aspire to be a Beyonce, because there's very few people who can reach the level of Beyonce, if we're being very, very frank and honest. That's never what I wanted. I just wanted to be able to afford and have the space to create, to nurture that talent, to share those gifts and communicate with people,
Hmm.
which that really is universal. It really is one of the only languages that is universal. It is music, you know?
Yeah.
So I've been blessed to be able to do that and still do that and come back 10 years later, because I did take a decade off almost, you know, and now come back with new music and launch that and see where that takes me. But that takes again, that comes back to being self-assured and
Hmm.
knowing who you are, and you believe in yourself enough that you're willing to take this risk, you know. um so yeah, that's the long and short of the journey, you know.
Yeah, I love your story, especially you meeting your husband on tour. That could be a movie. I cannot. But I know it must have taken courage to one, come out as an artist when you did, but then to come back after taking a break for 10 years. I'm wondering if that was intimidating for you, and if so, how you got over that. Because I know if I take a break from something, and come back, you're like met with all this anxiety, and it's
Of
like,
course.
will I still be well received? And all, like, what was running through your head?
I think that's, will I still be well received? I think
Mm-hmm.
that was definitely a question that I asked myself, was that, will I be accepted as I am today? Not 10 years ago when, okay, she was in her 30s and like she looked
Yeah.
gorgeous and like, these
You're
questions.
still gorgeous. Like,
Right, right. But I had a moment where I paused and I'm like, well, will the industry be
yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
And am I okay if they don't? Right.
Right. Right.
So I came to my conclusion that yes, I am okay as I am. I am still just as talented as I was, probably more so now because I've matured and I've seasoned and I've, marinated in my life. So
Right.
new experiences that come into my music, right? So I think I'm a better musician 10 years now than I was before. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of leaned more into that, and that's where I drew strength from to give me that courage to step back into this light and say, yeah, I can do this. I can do this no matter what the end result is. I'm good with what I'm about to release into the world. I'm very confident and I'm very proud of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I think one key thing is being proud of your work, and having it come from a place of sincerity, right? When you do something that is of you, that you are so passionate about and that you've spent so much time on, like you said, you let it marinate. I mean, it's like fine wine, it ages with time. And so
Right.
you're able to come back and be proud of what you produce. And I think that that is one of the primary things that helps people to build confidence, is coming from a place of truth, because then it's
Mm.
just organic. You don't have to kind
Yeah.
of foster it. It comes from, oh, I know this because I've spent my time on it. This is real. And then it goes back to what you said earlier, being like, it may not be for everybody, but
Mhm.
this is good.
Yeah, exactly. I own it. I own it. I'm very, like I said, proud, and I'm okay with if it's just me at the end of the day, that, it's just like I created this work and I believe it's a work of art. And I believe that God gave me this gift and it's to be used, it's to be nurtured, it's to be shared. So whoever is able to receive that, I'm very grateful. I coming with it from a spirit of gratitude and understanding that we only have a limited time on this earth. So
Mhm.
live it as best as you can. Live it as free of stress and self-doubt and all of the negative attributes that we could put upon ourselves that we have control over to remove. Let's
Yeah.
try to do our best to remove them one by one and work at that each day so that we can live life more freely, and savor the experiences. So that's what I have been able to ascend to in terms of my growth as a person and as a woman. And it feels really good,
Mhm.
worry about aging. I'm going to be 45 and I don't feel it. Hopefully I don't
Yeah.
much, but even if I did, I
Yeah.
feel okay. And that
Yeah.
really is important.
And it's the key, right? Is knowing that, or coming back to that space of like, we literally only have one life to live.
Mhm.
And we often put pressure on ourselves to do things a certain way because we've been told that that's how it has to be done.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to take this track, then that's the way it looks. Or maybe you can't even take that track. You have to go this direction instead of that one. But being able to say, no, I know Jocelyn, and this is the path for me. I think that that's something so invaluable, because in making those choices and changing your thoughts, like you mentioned, we're able to change our lives. We don't have
Right.
to do the things that we think that others would have us do, or what society tells us. We literally have to just think about the fact that this is my life. How do I want to spend the time? What's going to feel good? How do I make my mark? And then what are the next steps to actually getting there?
Right. And I'll say to, your listeners, not this is the end goal, right? To get there is really difficult, especially when you are surrounded by whether it's family or friends or a community that really it's almost that some of them are trying to live vicariously through you. So they're trying to,
Yeah.
live their dreams and their expectations through you, because, especially coming from immigrant families, when you become the first one to go to college, or the first one to get a 6-figure job, or the first one to do whatever that first is,
Yeah.
that pressure is enormous. Like, I actually didn't graduate. I attended university, but I never graduated. And my mother was just devastated, because her end game was
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice to bring us to this new world. And, through you, we're going to make it. And
Right.
that's not how it played out. But
Yeah, making it has a certain look to
of
it. And
course,
if it
yes,
doesn't
because you
look
can
like
say my
that,
child is a doctor, or my child is whatever,
right.
you know. And she didn't get that. And at first she was crushed. She was honest. She was like, I don't know what you're doing, And then later on, when she saw the trajectory of my life, and she saw what I was able to accomplish and really go beyond what she had envisioned for me, she
Mm-hmm.
let go of not me as a daughter, but me as a, stop living through me and just enjoying that,
Yeah.
journey with me, as opposed. So but it was a bit rough. It was a bit difficult.
Yeah.
So, I just want to encourage your listeners who are also maybe experiencing that situation and that pressure, is that, again, it is your life, and it will not be easy dealing with the emotions of others. You
Mm-hmm. And
begin,
you'll inevitably have to.
yeah, you will. You'll confront it at some point, like I did,
Yeah.
Um, but just prepare yourself to be secure in your choice, so that even when you are confronting those that are railing against it, you don't fall back. You don't
Right.
stumble.
You hit on something that's very, very real. And I think that it's something that honestly stops a lot of people from pursuing their own dreams and passions. There's a lot of times where something feels good on the inside, or you have this dream, or someone asks you the question of, what would you do if money were not an object? And
Right.
usually that, whatever you answer to that question is, aside from laying on the beach, okay, but
Right.
like, what would you do for a profession if money were not an option? That question is probably where your passion lies.
Mhm.
But it's so difficult to break those societal norms, especially like you said, when you're the first, because you do have a lot riding on you. And chances are there are people who have invested so much that you feel almost a sense of guilt as to
Yeah,
like,
you're
oh, I
obligated. You feel
have to do
obligated.
it.
Yeah.
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 And go ahead.
It's just, all I can say to those who are in that situation, again, it's just, they don't own you as much as you do not owe anyone anything. No matter how much someone is invested in you, that was their choice. That was their decision.
Yeah.
You have your decisions to make. It doesn't mean that you can't honor your family, or honor,
Right.
your community or whatnot. But at the end of it all, for me, and also, let's come back from a financial standpoint. I get it that not everybody has the luxury to say, I'm going to go quit my job and I'm going to follow my passion. Let's be realistic here. But you can strive and plan to work towards it, so that it's a gradual transition, so that you're not
Mm-hmm.
negatively affected. But it doesn't mean that you should just sit there and just wish upon a star and then just let that dream go. Because
Mm-hmm.
I worked full time for many, 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 many years alongside my music, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't an either or situation. So I just want people to think that you're not trapped in the box that people build for you. You
Mm-hmm.
really open that door and walk through it. It's about, at the end of it, what do you want to make you happy in life?
Yeah. And we're multi-dimensional human beings. You talk about being put in this box, and we oftentimes live in those boxes like, oh, I can't go sing, or I can't do this business until I'm completely done with that. And
Yeah.
it's because people assign these labels, and the labels have a certain view.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, if you're in this box, this is how the box looks, and this is how the box behaves, this is how it smells. Like, the box has its whole life and
All its characters
characteristics.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the box is a person of its own, right? And you're like trapped inside of that bodysuit, unable to make your own decisions, when really we have, that's an eggs in one basket situation, where our eggs honestly are in many baskets, because we're multidimensional, we're diverse in and of ourselves, and that's what makes us unique.
Right. So that's another reason why I've never been one to really just say, okay, I'm this.
Right.
I'm a multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
Always describe myself as a
Yeah.
multi-hyphenate because I've done so many things in my life up to now, and still I will have different interests. You know, as I experience new things, I may want to pick up a new instrument, or I may want to focus on a different aspect of my professional career and take a new class. Like, there is no limit to what we should be wanting to do and to express, because that is a form of expression in of itself.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people to say, oh, well, oh, I don't think I should, I don't think I have the time to do this, or, you know, I've got to put my kids in priority. And of course, children are our parents' first priority, right? That's just how it is. I also encourage at the same time to really value yourself and carve out a little bit of time
Mm-hmm.
for you, because yes, you're a parent, but you're still all these other things. You're a woman, you're a singer, you're a painter, you love to run, like, whatever that is for you, that really helps you to just release stress, to
Mm-hmm.
be closer connected to yourself. Invite that into your life, even if it's just 5, 10 little minutes a day. Like, it's so
Yeah.
crucial, because we're so busy trying to be there for others that we fail miserably at being there for ourselves.
Yeah. You hit on something that's so crucial. And I think also, if you're worried about being there for others, right? Pouring into your own cup fills it up. If you're, are you pouring from an empty place, right?
Right.
Are you pouring from a place that you haven't filled up? And so pursuing your passions, taking the breaks that you need, exploring yourself and your own interests actually helps those around you. And it
Mm-hmm.
helps you to be a better mother, girlfriend, wife, like friend, what
Absolutely.
have
Whatever
you.
titles you've got. Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think more and more people are starting to get that message. It's just,
Yeah.
how do we incorporate that into our daily lives? Because our daily lives will look different from one from another, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much help out there, conversations like this to listen to. There's just so many resources that are available to help us to begin to picture how the ideal day would be, and
Mm-hmm.
to incorporate small elements of that. It doesn't, again, so many people worry that, oh my gosh, well, I want to do this, but how am I supposed to achieve all this? Well,
Right.
they say Rome was not built in a day. And so as a program manager, I'm really about building blocks, identify
Mm-hmm.
all the
Got
work
your
that
project
needs.
planning, your milestones.
Yeah, literally. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really breaking down
Yeah.
big goal into small little chunks, and you just tick it off one by one, because with as you get through each one, it's really now creating that puzzle to give you the entire picture. So
Yeah.
small chunks, small bites.
And actually giving yourself credit for those small bites too. I think that we don't give ourselves credit for the stuff that we do on a daily basis because, like you said, we're focused on this big goal. And when we do that, it can become crippling
Yes,
almost because you're looking at, oh my, like you said, I don't know how to even start. But
yep.
when we think about what can I do today? Or maybe that's too much. What can I do in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And do that. And then the next time you're stuck, what can I do in this moment? And it sounds kind of silly, but once you kind of get the hang of it and get into that groove, you realize that like you're so much more intentional about your time, about your day, and you appreciate not only your time more, but yourself more, and you're able to
Absolutely.
appreciate your journey.
Yeah. I think, for example, someone who's trying to lose weight, I've always struggled with my weight. It's only past few years have I really managed to, control it and really not kind of like waver,
Mm-hmm.
um, beyond a mindset. But it's also to your point where I would say, okay, oh, I need to walk a mile today. And I would get outside and, within maybe like 10 minutes, I was just like, I can't do this today. Like, I'm not in the mind frame. And I'm like, okay, but I actually did 10 minutes. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So we have to again readjust and look at our wins in a different way, and it is a win. The fact that I left my house and walked that 10 minutes, that's still a win.
Yeah.
So I reframing it is the actual word, reframing how
Reframing.
we view ourselves and how we view progress. And because as for me, it's really simple. My mom would say, well, as long as you have life, there's hope, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds so corny, but it's extremely, extremely true. It gives you that next opportunity, that next, okay, you ate that meal, it was a burger, it was a little fatty, whatever the case may be. Well, that next meal is your next opportunity. See it
Right.
as the next opportunity. And that's how I really started to treat myself more kindly, was that, okay, you know what, this opportunity, I didn't succeed the way I wanted to. Okay, well, I have another opportunity as long as I,
Right.
and it's working.
No, I love that. And because it's one of those things where we do get so hard on ourselves when we do something bad, or we not even bad, but just don't hit that mark that we've set
Exactly.
for ourselves. And that kind of sends us a lot of times on a downward spiral. Like, oh, I didn't do it this time. I can never do it. I may as well
Yep.
just stop. Rather than realizing it, as you just stated, as okay, this opportunity, I didn't hit the mark, but it's like the little engine that could, like, I think I
Seriously,
can, and you just
I
keep
know
going.
it sounds,
I'm
like I
so
said, it
corny, I know.
sounds so corny, but it really, it's the
Yeah,
simplest lessons that really give the greatest impact. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, just do not berate yourself. Love yourself enough. Be kind enough to yourself to never treat yourself worse than you would expect someone to treat you.
mm-hmm,
Would you ever expect someone to hit you or abuse you? Well, if you continue to talk that way to yourself, you're abusing yourself emotionally. And
yeah,
it's the worst form of abuse in to yourself in a way, right? I'm not talking about physical abuse to others. I'm just talking about to yourself,
yeah,
emotional abuse, when you are just really talking down to yourself and you are telling yourself that you're not good enough or you didn't do well enough. It's really harmful. Now, like, you need to be truthful. Like, you need to say, okay, well, I didn't accomplish what I needed to do today. All right, well, this is what I need to do tomorrow in order to
right,
recover this. But you have to have a response to the problem. Never
yeah.
see the problem and just sit there and I'm like, okay, so I didn't do well today. I'm not a great person. Like, no,
Yeah, it's about having a response, but a healthy response, a constructive response. It's like constructive criticism, but in your own mind.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm based in reality, but I'm
Yeah.
myself because I deserve nothing less.
Yeah. And words matter, right? The words that other people tell us matter. They have the power, depending on who they're coming from, to really hurt us,
Yeah.
to veer us off course with our goals, to make us second guess and doubt ourselves. But our minds are going 24/7, even when we're not conscious of it. So the words that we're actively telling ourselves and the thoughts that are going on when we're not paying attention, those matter as well. And so it kind of goes back to that. What am I filling myself up with? What's going
Right.
into my cup? And so I want to hear about some of the words in your songs. You've written so much. And I know that they kind of speak to the messages and journeys that you've gone through without life. So what's one of the songs that really uplifts you that you've written?
Um, so I'll talk about the new song first, and then I'll talk about another one that I did on the first album. So the new
Yeah.
song is called Be Still. And it really is a song for our times, our present times. And it speaks about hope. It speaks about pain. It really addresses very sensitive topics such as, shame, loss, suicide, stress, our racial inequities. So much of what's happening in our day-to-day existence right now, and where people feel that they may be neglected, no one's caring about them, like our world just seems so far from where it could be. And
Mm-hmm.
my message is really of, yes, all this is happening, but you are alive, you still have hope, there is still promise, so it's a song I'm really, really proud of because it speaks to a lot of people's situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my answer to them. Like, again, we have problems, but I'm trying to present a solution. I'm trying to
Right.
present a different way of looking at at our lives today. So I just actually shot the music video for it on Monday. And yes, I'm so excited. It came out
Congrats.
well. Yeah, worked with an amazing team of people. I'm very, very proud of, what we did with this. And so it's going to really reinforce the words, the lyrics, because they're really powerful, and the video is going to really complement that. So there's Be Still. And then there's a song
When
that
is that video coming out? Do you know yet?
So I think we're
It's
90,
hard to say. Okay,
yeah,
I'm not going to rush for
99%,
you.
no, 99% sure it's going to be June 15th. We're going to release everything.
Okay.
Same day. Yeah. So looking forward to that. And then a song that I wrote, it's called Free Me. And it's the story of my experience with like abuse, emotional, physical. And it was really like a cry to anybody, whether God or anybody. And like the chorus is free me, release me, unchain me from this burden I bear.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time it was really cathartic, that's the right way, cathartic.
Yeah.
Release a lot of pain that I had been holding on to for a couple decades because I
Mm-hmm.
doing all the things that I wasn't, I never, I pushed repressed a lot of the pain. And in my writing, as I said, it kind of overwhelms me at times because I'm processing a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
That song spilled out almost against my will, you know. I was just writing and I remember I was
Yeah.
as I was writing it, and I'm like, okay, this song, the lyrics, it was a cry for help and it was healing at the same time. So for me, it's probably one of my more powerful songs.
I love that. And I think that sometimes our most powerful, most impactful work is the stuff that we don't want to release. But what happens when we release it is we let it go. It
Yeah.
it literally is released from our bodies and we are able to live, to breathe. We
Yeah, I
release
can look back.
ourselves
I can
from
look back on
that.
those worst periods of my life
Yeah.
and look at it from a voyeur perspective, as opposed to, you know, being entrapped by it.
Right, right.
Even though that pain happened 30 whatever years ago, I don't feel that pain anymore.
Mm-hmm. And you got through it. Like
Exactly.
that's what people have to realize. Like we go through so much as human beings, as women, and whether it's a rough relationship,
Mhm.
a rough friend, like I don't know, whatever you're going through, but you made it through that. And
Yeah.
that's not a failure. That's a triumph. The
Yeah,
fact that you're still here to tell that
absolutely.
story.
It's, you know what I mean? I always say by the grace of God, and I
Hmm.
say that, you know, I'm not done here on this earth.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here. So I
Yeah.
often have things I have left to accomplish, or at least try to accomplish. So that's how I just choose to view life, is that
Yeah.
my work isn't done, you know? Whether it is as a stepmother, whether it is as a wife, as a sister, as a friend, as a musician, whatever I am, I don't know I don't know when it is going to be done, and I'm not even really concerned.
Yeah.
I'm just focused on the here and now, and really seizing and enjoying the quality of life that I've been able to build. And
Hmm.
I'm very blessed. I never neglect that for a second, that I'm extremely, extremely blessed to be in the position that I am today. But I earned it. I worked for that.
Yeah, that's
And
right. And
that's
your
where that
work,
inner confidence comes in too.
yeah, and you're right. You're so far from being done, from your video that's coming out next week to all of the amazing stuff that you're going to be dropping in the future. So, where do people stay up to date with all of your work, or even look back at all of your previous songs and your album that you released 10 years ago?
Sure. So the first point to find me is my website. It's kassandradasent.com. From there, you will have the social media icons to jump to. So I just like to say, go to my website. You'll see, you know, you'll hear like the music from the first
Yeah.
album, older visuals, but everything's gonna get a refresh. Very.
You look like America's Next Top Model on your website. I must say, I was like, oh my gosh. I felt like I was literally back watching Tyra, and it was one of those competitions.
Sorry. Yeah. I clean up nice.
Yeah. No, but Kassandra Dasent, please check her out, everyone. Her music is amazing. Her songs are uplifting, and they're all actually on her website. So if you want to check out her music, you can do that there. Be sure to give her a follow over on Instagram. And thank you, thank you, thank you so much for
My
joining
pleasure.
us here.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for being on Confidence Conversations.